Everybody doing? Happy Tuesday. My name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. I thought I'd go live and just chill with you guys. Here's the view from my room. As you can see, those beautiful clouds in the background. I'm in Lubbock, Texas, and if you've been following anything online, you know that there was a Texas Tech University student who started a whole bunch of drama on campus with somebody about Charlie Kirk. Well, this individual got really rowdy with the individual that was discussing and mourning Charlie, and obviously this young lady did not like what was going on, so she started chanting a lot of stuff that was inappropriate if you were out there mourning somebody. Also, she put her hands on him, put the camera all up in his face, and she was arrested and bonded out for $200, which that's nothing. 10% of $200 is what, $20? Because that's all you have to really pay is $20. So, or 10% of whatever the bail is. So how's everybody doing? Why don't y'all put some questions or whatever y'all want to talk about in the chat? It's been a while since I went live. Went live with Warning Label Nina the other day, and we were discussing her road trip and stuff like that. So um, I think she's in Utah at this point. I haven't even really been paying attention to what's been going on the YouTube street. Been kind of just doing my training and stuff, and not really caring honestly what's been going on with YouTube. I've been learning a lot as far as how to be a probation officer. I can go ahead and switch the camera so that y'all can see what I'm talking about as far as the cloud that I was just mentioning. And there's the pool area. It's pretty nice. I'm on the third floor. I'll probably go for a walk or something here in a little bit. Because, sometimes you just can't neglect what you're used to doing. And I'm used to, working out and stuff like that. Even if it's for 15 minutes, you got to get the blood flowing. So how's life with you individuals? Is pool heated? No, the pool's not heated, unfortunately. That'd be nice if it was. I'd be up in that pool if it was heated. I mean, it's not cold outside by any means, but I'm pretty certain that the pool is not as warm as it once was, probably in June or July. So, all that I've really seen going on in the YouTube world is talking about the individual that was arrested for assassinating Charlie Kirk. As far as anything else in true crime, I really haven't seen a lot. Today I posted a short about something that I posted probably last week about the individual that decapitated that person. And it actually showed in the video, the TikTok video that I borrowed. It showed him carrying the decapitated head around after he did it. And get this, that happened because they got into an argument about a washing machine. Now you tell me, isn't that wild to get into an argument about something so trivial and lose your life? Some people would say yes, some people would say no. I actually like this. It's like a good lighting. It's easy to maintain. And I get to just not have to worry about sound, what's going on, all kinds of stuff that I usually do when I'm on my laptop and going live from the house. Tomorrow, day 3, I'm actually gonna go view a court hearing in the detention center, and that should be interesting. I'm actually understanding the process now as far as the probation officer duties, as far as what's going to be expected of me, how I'm going to be handling the cases from the moment the child is arrested, or not arrested, we don't say arrested, placed in custody. So once somebody's placed in custody, let's say a child is, I don't know, let's say that they are spray painting a wall or something, or they're getting loud with, let's use the spray painting the wall, okay? Um, Ellie rolls up, they catch the kid takes off running, they catch him, take him into custody, okay? Usually, if it's after hours, we get a phone call. After hours, we get a phone call, and let's say that they were caught, I don't know, with a vape or a gun on them, okay? So this is a felony, because being young, you can't necessarily be roaming the streets carrying a weapon, such as a firearm. So we have to make a decision. We have to make a decision whether we take the child into custody, the juvenile department, or whether we release to the parents. So if we take the child into custody, somebody has to take them to the detention place. We got to find a bed for them. So once we find a bed, we take the kid from the LE and we take them to the detention center, whichever one we find. And then the child has to have a hearing within 48 hours. So basically, this would be like, once the child is released from custody, then it would be like an adult being bailed out, okay? So then we have what's called an adjudicated hearing. But even before that, we have a detention hearing, okay? So the kid is let out after 48 hours. We take the kid before the judge to see exactly whether the child is a danger to themselves, whether he's a danger to the community, and then the judge can say, okay, you're a danger to the community because you were carrying a firearm in public, so I'm gonna recommend that you spend 10 days. So we take them back to a place, detention facility, for 10 days. During that 10 days, a lot of things go on. They can be, having a psychological done. You could be, investigating the case to see exactly whether the child has any kind of childhood trauma, any things like that. And then once you get to that point, then at 10 days, you get the kid back from the detention and you go and you have an adjudication hearing, which the adjudication hearing is basically just presenting the case to before the judge. In juvenile court, the juvenile does have the option of having a jury trial. With the adjudication, it's just that it's a trial. So you can have a jury trial or you can have the trial before the judge. Most people have the trial before the judge. So at the adjudication hearing, that's the part where, the defense and the district attorney or the prosecution present the case to the judge. You're finding out exactly what the kid did. Okay, that's when we would be called, and it would be, so 12, what is this juvenile suspected of doing? Well, judge, on the night of so-and-so, officer so-and-so rolled up, saw him spray painting the wall. When the officer got out, juvenile took off running. Upon capturing the juvenile and placing him in custody, the officer retrieved a gun out of a bush. He also had a vape on him. Okay. So, due to this being what we find, what do you recommend? Well, I recommend that a child be detained 10 more days while we get everything in order. Okay. Well, at this point, the judge has the discretion to either release the child to the parents or he can agree with the juvenile probation department. Well, if he agrees, then the child goes back to detention for 10 more days. While while he's in there for 10 more days, you're reviewing, investigating, still what you're going to do. That's the next process. That would be the disposition. So the next process would be the disposition hearing. So after 10 days, you can either make sure you have the psychological evaluation done. You do the makeup of, what kind of family history, what kind of issues the child had. Did he have mental health issues? Is there truancy? Is there any of that? And once you got all your ducks in a row, you go to the disposition hearing. Well, once the disposition hearing, this is where the child get to say, well, is this true or is it not true? So at this point, the child gets to present, his side of it. The parents get to speak. And at this point, you have a recommendation for the judge. So what are you going to do? Are you going to place him on probation? Are you going to put him in placement? Or are you going to release him with a monitor on? What are you going to do? At this point, you've already found him culpable of what he did. At this point, what are you going to do? So at this point, you can say, well, I'm going to recommend that he goes to, this facility, this treatment program for 30 days because he's a first-time offender. Or you can say, well, we're going to put him on defer because he's a first-time offender. We're going to monitor him because he doesn't have very good supervision at home. So therefore, we'll put an ankle monitor on him. And at this point, the judge can agree with that. And then, then he releases the child to the parent. And then you go on with your business. You take the child back, fill out the paperwork, you put the child officially on probation, and and then he's supervised. So that is the process from start to finish. The adult system is totally different. Of course, if that would have been an adult, he broke the adult spray painting the wall. Cops roll up. He tells them to stop. He takes off running. The cop chases him, tases him, arrests him, finds the gun, finds the vape. Well, it's not illegal for him to have the vape because he's of age, but yet he can't have the firearm. So, therefore, he's charged with the firearm. If he's a felon or not a felon, if he's not a felon, then he's carrying a weapon in public. So, you get arrested, take him to jail. The judge, he sees the judge probably the next day or the day after. The judge sets a bail. He bails out. He's given a court date. And during that time, he's either free or if he can't bail himself out, he stays in jail until the hearing. The hearing called the arraignment hearing, kind of like what we learned in the Idaho 4 case. When Brian was brought before the judge in the Idaho, once he was extradited, that was the arraignment because she read the charges of what Mr. Koberger was being suspected of doing. And she asked him, "Do you understand these charges? Do you wish to plead?" And he stood in silence, of course. So the judge pled not guilty in his behalf. Um, During that part, they would have had the preliminary hearing, but they didn't. Instead, they had the grand jury hearing, right? So the grand jury convened. We don't know exactly what happened during the grand jury hearing. Um, all we know is they voted to indict. So they indicted him. So at that point, they did find that there was more probable cause to indict than there was not. Had they found not enough evidence, then they could have cut him loose. And after that, he was still, um, there was not a bail set, so he was, mandated to the custody of the state of Idaho. During that portion, he was waiting, through all those motions, hearing that, Anne was doing, and the story. Y'all been around long enough. So that's the difference between juvenile and adult. The difference also is the probation officer usually, um, in the juvenile system, the probation officer sees the child from the moment they get the call all the way till the child is released, which is usually 3 to 6 months, most often it's 6 months. And there's a long process, there's little bitty areas. And I'm reciting the state of Texas stuff, so obviously it's different in other states. It's different from time to time, other states. So what I'm saying right now, it's pertinent to the state of Texas. It's very interesting. And once I start actually working the process, it'll start to be a lot easier. The thing that's kind of difficult at this point is understanding it, but you're not doing it. And I'm one of those people that if you are teaching me something, it's easier for me to do it as you're teaching me because it makes a lot more sense and it allows me to make mistakes and things like that. And I can see my mistakes rather than you talking about it and, going through the motions about it. It'll make a lot more sense or it won't. I mean, maybe this is something that I have a roadblock in my brain that I can't overcome the therapy part of my brain versus the law enforcement part of my brain. I mean, we never know. We never know. Maybe this is something that, in time I might find out that this is something that I don't want to do. Maybe I want to use my criminal justice degree in another avenue. Only time will tell. You got to go with the punches, and give yourself the opportunity to make mistakes, and that's what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm that's what I had to do with my counseling stuff, my therapy stuff. I mean, when I first started, I made a lot of mistakes because it's one thing to learn the modalities while you're in school, while you're listening to stuff, you're being taught these modalities, but it's a total other thing whenever you get thrown into it, just like anything else. You get thrown into it and you have to actually apply what you just learned. And I know you guys understand that because you probably have went through school and things like that, um, or even on the job training. Let's say you take a different job and it's something that you kind of know what you're doing, but it's something that you've never really done, and you learn on the fly. Texas says, "Man, last night I was too involved with the ball game to go on harass anybody. Plus, was half asleep." Yeah, there was some ball games this weekend, and last night that was pretty good. I just haven't really been that invested in all of it. You know what I mean? But it it's cool. It's cool. I'm glad football season's here. But one thing that people really, I think they don't understand whenever they're talking about these cases, especially Idaho, because that's been a hot topic for almost 3 years now. When you're reading the documents, when you're discussing the situation that happened, all the evidence that's being released to us, the photos, the dispositions, all this stuff, I think what people don't really understand is the concept in which the writing is being delivered. I believe that people think that if you're reading the document, these documents are written in regular English, that you're reading it in the perspective of real time, and it's really not. It's kind of like the affidavit. I've been privileged to look over affidavits and stuff like that recently, and like I've always told you, it is very specific. It is very, you know little little Jesse went down the street, ran into Daniel, blah, blah, blah. They went into a liquor store, stole some wine, jumped the clerk, beat him up, blah, blah, blah. Very specific. And that's how it's written. So you don't worry about who was in the store, what was caught on camera. You don't worry about all these things because you're worried about the crime that took place. You're offended by Ashley Banfield. Not really. I don't get the joke, but okay. Drop dead serious, right? Drop dead serious. But do you get what I'm saying? It's like whenever people are looking into criminal acts, the real investigation goes along with the timeline of the crime. That's why the timeline is so important. If you try to manipulate the timeline, if you try to destroy the timeline, then, it's easy to say, well, this couldn't have happened. But if you're more apt to understand that the timeline started at 2, ended at 6, well, from 2 to 6, whatever happened either in a house, at the liquor store, whatever, that's what you're going to focus on. You're not going to focus on 2 blocks away, all the way across town. You're not going to worry about all this. It's not going to be part of the PCA because that's not the initial crime scene. So you're worrying about the initial crime scene. That's why in Idaho, it was easy to discuss the crime scene because the crime scene was the 1122 residence. The crime scene was not the Banfield. It was not even Linda Lane. Linda Lane was a circumstantial part of the case because that's where the white Elantra supposedly circled the residence 4 times. That would have been the circumstantial evidence. The other circumstantial evidence would have been all the other part, the pings, the him leaving his apartment at the time that he left his apartment, all the cameras that he passed along the way. I mean, I'm using this case as the best that It's one of the cases that I really kind of know, just like I know my own name. You know what I mean? It's that ingrained in me. I wish it wasn't, but it really is. So there's a difference between direct evidence and circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial is evidence that could be linked to the crime based on the application of whether there's DNA, whether there's video evidence, whether there's blood evidence on it. If there's a blood trail leaving from a residence and that blood trail takes you through another parking lot and you find a knife, there's more often than not, that knife is associated with the crime. So it's circumstantially more applicable to be related to the crime than just stumbling upon this knife with a blood trail leading to it. Does that make sense? Am I making sense to you guys? Um, Let me know if I'm making sense to you guys because I'm just really talking to kind of, like I used to do. I used to get on here and just talk about the logistics of the criminal justice system, because a lot of people don't do this. And, I know it's not the most exciting stuff to listen to, but if you really are into true crime, and I'm not talking about the Harlequin romance type true crime, I'm talking about the real deal stuff, like from the investigative process all the way through the penalty phase. I mean, then you really need to understand how the process works because the process has nothing to do with emotional attachment. A lot of these individuals on these platforms, they want to make it like the police is emotionally involved in whether they catch a killer or whether they don't. They watch too many of these documentaries where these people are acting like, well, this case really pulled at my heartstrings. You know what I mean? Well, that's after the fact. That's after they caught the person. During, I'm sure it wasn't pulling at their heartstrings because you're fixated on trying to catch a killer, catch an abductor, catch a shoplifter, catch anybody that committed the crime, and that's what is it's so amazing to me is that people get so emotionally invested in all these things that's where all these conspiracies come from. It's from their emotions, their bias. Whatever their bias is, that's where it's going to take them. So if I believe that most often than not in most of my life police have done me wrong, that when I'm looking at a case and it's any way, shape, or form looks like the police could have got it wrong, or the police were excessive, or whatever, I'm going off my own bias and my own understanding of what happened to me most of the time, or if I knew somebody else that got done that way by the police. So a lot of these cases are reported on personal bias, however they feel about it, or however they feel about which side that they're more able to relate to. Like, let's say, the individual that shot that banker on in New York. What was his name? Mangione or something. Let's say that you're one of these people that believe that that person that got shot should have gotten shot because they've been scamming from people for years, or that you knew somebody that was directly affected by whatever they did, whatever that dude did for a living. I don't even remember what he was really into as far as, I don't know if he was into like healthcare or something like that. But let's say you've been screwed over by healthcare. So the fact that this CEO got gunned down in the street and you feel vindicated by this one person shooting this person, then instantly you're going to be in the shooter's corner. You're not going to be in the healthcare person's. You're not going to care about him. He's not going to mean anything to you because you've already chosen your bias. And your bias is, well, I was screwed over by the healthcare system, so he deserved it. So nobody's going to tell me different that that dude who shot him didn't do something good. And that's usually how it works on these platforms as far as true crime's concerned. Is it wrong? Is it right? Who's to say? Who's to say? But the reality is, it makes you sound a certain way if you're discussing the true crime. If you're really being objective, you're not being biased. To be objective means that you're neither for nor against. Meaning that if you're reporting on something, it's not emotionally fueled by you. It's just you reporting on the facts of the case. You don't say, "Well, I understand this because you know I've used healthcare for 20 years and they've screwed me for 20 years. So therefore, I'm an expert at what I'm about to tell you." That's not how. That's not how investigative work goes. It doesn't happen that way. I mean, you can say that, but did that really make you an expert understanding the whole process of healthcare from start to finish? Because you've used it for 20 years? It could and it could not, you know? Now, if you were arguing whether, how to make a bed or how to tie your shoes or how to take a bath or whatever, you've done that all your life. Well, you could argue that fact. Even if you're not an expert at it, you still tell somebody, hey, I've made my bed all my life. I can tell you the process. And they probably wouldn't argue with you. They probably would accept that fact to be like, well, this person probably knows what he's talking about. But it's interesting to me whenever individuals get on platforms and they do talk about certain things that they have no clue what they're opining on. As far as documents, like when you're reading a document, if you're unbiased, you're going to read this document and you're going to say, okay, well, this part makes sense to me. This part does not. This part does not make sense to me because in that aspect, this part sounds confusing to me. It's confusing me more than before I read it. So it's easier just to say or admit that you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I've done that. I mean, I've done that on my lives multiple times. I don't know what I'm talking about. Especially at the very beginning, I had no clue about criminal justice. All I knew is certain parts, and that's because I've worked with officers all around the spectrum, all the way up to the federal government. And you usually learn by listening to other people. And that's the beautiful thing about knowledge is you don't have to be totally knowledgeable about something if you have a trusted source that really will not lead you the wrong way. Trusted sources are not usually individuals that really have no clue what they're talking about, but they're driving this breaking news type stuff to you, and and you're really and you're really looking foolish because you don't understand it either. Right now, I'm in the medical arts district or medical center district. There's hospitals all around me, It looks like covenant houses where, people can go and, rent a room or something if their loved ones are in the hospital or whatever. Obviously, there's homes all around here. Um, it's pretty interesting to be in a place that's bigger than the location where you're currently living. I mean, it's like, I don't know. Those people that don't like big cities, I don't understand why they don't. There's multitudes of things to do. Of course, with anything else, the more people you get, the more differences of opinion, the more misunderstandings, or even the more opportunity to grow. Because I believe at times people they focus too much on the negative, you know? Because not every place has protesters in the streets protesting. I don't see one protester out in this parking lot. Let me show you. Not one. Not one protester. Not any college students talking about, you know, Charlie Kirk, or not anybody out there in the streets with MAGA signs. There's none of that. And it's interesting that we get this bias most of the time that we believe that this happens everywhere because media tells you these things. And I'm not anti mainstream media, but also at the same time, mainstream media does push their agenda whatever direction they want to go with their agenda. I don't believe as much on everything, but there's politics for politics for sure. Yeah, that's a nice pool. I just don't know if it's cold or not. I haven't even been down there. That's the thing. I love to swim and I love to do all that, but I'm in work mode, so I'm not in vacation mode. So I go to my training and I come back to the hotel. I work out. I do whatever, but I really don't. I'm not in. I don't know why that is. That I'm unable to not compartmentalize all that. Like, okay, you're at a hotel. Go swim. It's almost like feeling, I don't know. I'm weird about that. It's like if I'm somewhere for work, then that's what I'm going to focus on is work, because if I don't pass that test on Thursday, guess what? I don't get to be a PO. I don't get to get my badge. I don't get any of that. So basically, this trip was for nothing. Would I still have a job? Yeah. Would I get a second chance? Who knows? I haven't used a hotel pool when I'm away for work in 25 years. Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, it just seems like, I brought swim trunks, but like Texas was talking about, I've been watching football, I've been watching, lounging on the couch, working out, walking around the area, just the first time I've really had any inkling to go live, and I didn't even know what I was going to talk about. I'm kind of like all over the place, but want to just get on here and kind of talk. No other reason, no real sense of urgency. But I hope that makes sense as far as other creators and their inability to focus on the directive as far as their lives are concerned, rather than to focus on their opinion. Because if you're focusing on your opinion, how can you say that this is factual? If you're speaking in a way that you are trying to convince your audience that this is factual information because you're speaking it, you can't really make up for it and say, well, this is factual but I can't prove it. I mean, at that point, it's not a theory, it's a hypothesis. I remember one time outside of Pikeville, Kentucky, my back kinked up. That was the last time. I gotcha. I wish there was a hot tub out there. That'd be nice to be able to go in the hot tub. But fall's around the corner, and uh, unfortunately, it doesn't get stay as hot in certain parts of Texas to keep those pools warm. I mean, I'm sure at this point it's no longer lukewarm or bathtub warm. It's probably getting to the point of the top layers cold, and you got to swim in that boy for a little while to get warm. But like I was saying, as far as other creators and other platform people, a lot of times if they don't have an understanding of what they're talking about, their stuff just comes across as rhetoric. It comes across as, trying to convince your audience that this is exactly the way it is. When in reality, wouldn't it be better just to educate your audience instead of embellish stuff that's not real? And that's one of the things that I told myself when I started my channel, that I was not going to lead my audience down certain things that I could not prove, because in the therapy world you cannot bullshit your way through therapy. You cannot bullshit your way through a class, because if you've ever worked with anybody that has certain attributes where they're more knowledgeable about a situation than you, then you're going to look foolish standing up there trying to present something to them that you know nothing about. Let me give you an example. Let's say that, like, one of the courses that I used to present was called Criminal Thinking Errors. Well, my audience, where they were coming from substance abuse, felony treatment, where they were educated on these criminal thinking errors every day, all day long. So if I'm up there talking about it and I don't know what I'm talking about, guess what my audience is going to do to me? They're going to tear me apart with it because they know their stuff. So I learned really quickly that if it's not on paper, if you can't prove what you're saying, you shouldn't speak on it. And just trying to manipulate people into making them believe that you know what you're talking about just because you sound like you're an educated person doesn't equate the end result. Yeah, I was pretty foolish in the very beginning because, like I said, when I first became a therapist, I had no understanding what the hell I was talking about. I thought I did, but in reality, I really did not. And I thought, well, you know what? I've gone to classes. I'm a smart person. I can read this and I can figure it out. But like I said earlier, just because you can read something does not mean that you understand the concept of what you're reading or how it's being spoken on. And once again, I want y'all to know I'm not taking pot shots at anybody. I'm just saying that, it's evident and it's obvious when you listen to certain people whether they know what they're talking about or whether they're just trying to convince themselves to convince you. Because it's evident whenever somebody's trying to convince themselves. Because they're very demonstrative, they're very hostile sometimes, and they start to take pot shots at other people who do know what they're talking about. It's kind of like individuals that take pot shots at mainstream media. It's like they don't like these people that are presenting up to the moment breaking news, but yet they use their stuff. They talk about their stuff, but they try to diminish the presenter as if they don't know what they're talking about. It's almost like they have a vendetta because these people are more successful in a field that they wish they were successful at. Because in reality, not everybody can do certain things just because you read about it, just because you believe about it. It's kind of like just because you're a good listener does not make you a good therapist. Because to be able to listen to something is one thing, but to be able to lead somebody from a problem to a positive solution, not everybody can do that. There's a lot of people that get angry, there's a lot of people that don't know how to control their emotion long enough to get the person to the other side. I just clicked on, check out what I clicked on. Any of you like Family Guy? I love Family Guy. Anyways, like I said, I thought I'd get on here and I'd talk with you guys for a little bit. And if you're watching for the first time, I hope that you continue to show up because most of my lives are not like this. I'm doing a live like this because I don't have my laptop. I don't have all my other stuff that it takes to really um, have a professional looking live. But I enjoy these. I enjoy these from time to time, no doubt. So how's everybody in the chat doing? Did everybody leave? Because I can't really tell half the time who's here, who's not. Um, hit the like and subscribe button. Okay, I see Walt there. Yeah, make sure you hit the like and subscribe. And share these out. I don't mind. If you're using my content, I don't care if you use my content. Just don't use it as your own and don't play the whole thing as if it's your stuff. But if you're going to critique it, you know, just it is what it is. I've been on YouTube long enough to know that there's certain things that don't change. I've been on YouTube long enough to know that there's certain people that don't change. And one thing that I hope that you all understand is you can't change another person no matter how much you want to. You can't change kids that way, that quickly. You can't change adults that way. Because, like I said, like I always say, when the reward outweighs the consequences, things don't change. It isn't until the consequences outweigh the rewards, then people change. So, try not to take certain people or their platform so seriously because, to be honest, there's a lot of people on these YouTube streets that aren't doing it for the right reasons. They don't even have an agenda other than to just get on and present for hours and hours and hours and hours just to get money. And I'm not hating on it, but you know what? It makes it hard for the ones who really want to teach and educate people on the true process of what true crime is. You know, another thing I've noticed though, there's some creators that no matter what I do, I'll look at their platforms and it's almost like listening to my stuff, like my intros, my music, stuff like that. And I'm not being so egotistical or narcissistic that I believe that people are actually copying me, but it's hard not to think that at times. You know what I mean? There's some people who won't pay their electric bill. Well, as you can tell, the electric's all on right here. You pay the cost to be the boss. Always remember that. If you're not willing to pay the cost to be the boss, then all you're doing is just placating a lie. That's all you're doing. And like I always say, I enjoy doing this on the front line rather than having multitudes of people that I'm trying to convince that I'm actually who I say I am. The other day you saw a warning labeled Nina on my channel. You saw me with Nina in a laundromat doing an interview. If that don't tell you the realness of who 12 gauge and warning label Nina are, I don't know what will. I really don't. Maybe laundromat lives will become a thing. Any of you watch Family Guy? Is this faster than StreamYard? Is there a delay on this like StreamYard? Because I enjoy doing it on YouTube like this better than StreamYard. The only thing is I don't get the music intro, the backgrounds, and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Um, I think this is faster than StreamYard. Maybe somebody needs to mention to Nina that she doesn't need to use Restream, that she can use her YouTube to stream live. Maybe I'll mention that to her if I get a chance. I think it is faster. It looks faster. Like you guys respond faster. You enjoyed the interview? Well, thank you, Walt. That's awesome to hear. Seems solid like this. That's cool. That's cool. I know I enjoy being able to not have to be stationary, you know, like I can walk from place to place. Well, let me go make I gotta be careful when I stand up. Make sure there's not a mirror that I'm bouncing stuff off of because I'm not wearing pants. So, last thing I want is for you guys to, or YouTube to see something that will get me banned on YouTube. Because you know how YouTube is. I'm going to walk you guys through a smoothie. I'm going to make a smoothie. This is not going to be the easiest thing. Granted, this is my hotel refrigerator for 4 days, so as you can tell, it's well stocked. There's some tuna, some oatmeal. I can't open this with one hand, so hold on. Alright, here we go. There we go. If you're not living this life, you're really missing out. And I did wash my hands. You're not gonna see it. You're crazy. Any of you like frozen, like I got into the refrigerator the other day, and the damn refrigerator was so hot. It was like, if you're looking for some protein, this is pretty good stuff. Plant protein, zero sugar. Well, like I was saying, the refrigerator wasn't cooling my stuff, so it was off. So you always gotta check, make sure that your stuff is on. I don't know what you use, but I like using Simply Fruit Punch. Some good stuff. Hold on a second. Let me pour this in there because I can't do it with one hand. Anyways, I enjoy making these smoothies. Rather than eating ice cream or, stuff like that, it's always good to whirl those up pretty good. Because if it's frozen, you gotta make sure that you get that nice and stirred up. Hold on a second. Let me prop it up there. It's a nice. You should have that kind of consistency. You can either be one or two people. You can either drink it out of the container, or you can use a fine china, which I choose to use a fine china. And there's the finished result. A lot of people say, I don't like smoothies, or, let me turn the camera around. No, I don't have to worry about it. Just don't need to focus on the mirror in front of me. A lot of people say I don't like smoothies, or I don't like doing this stuff because it costs too much money or it takes too much time. Well, I don't know how your health is, but I mean, it takes no more time to make a smoothie than it takes to make a milkshake in a blender. You know what I mean? Man, I did pretty good with that smoothie. Look at that bad boy. Once again, here's my fine china. And there's the protein that I use. Is 30 grams of plant protein, 0 sugar. It's whey. It supports digestive health. Has probiotics. Immune health. It has zinc, vitamin C, D, and E. And it's high quality protein. It's whey. So that's what it looks like. If you want to try that out. So there's my first ever how-to video. You say you love bananas in your smoothie. That's cool. That's really cool. Maybe I should go live on my phone more often. I should if all I'm going to do is talk, for sure. But I like to show stuff, so you freeze bananas for your smoothies. Yeah, I buy the banana chips that are frozen already. I tried that. Didn't work out so well. I'm sure it was something that the user did error on or something, you know what I mean? Okay, that makes sense. Soy is good. I cannot stand the organic protein powder. Cannot stand it. Disgusting. It stinks. It stinks going in the freaking smoothie. It stinks while you're drinking it. I cannot do it. I mean, I have workout shorts on, so if I accidentally flash you, not gonna be like something that you're gonna see. But you know, I don't want to piss off YouTube. You had an A&W root beer, 0. You know, one thing about getting off sugar that I've noticed is you don't have to sacrifice the sweet taste. You just have to replace it with natural sugar, like grapes, bananas, strawberries, things like that. But there's a lot of people who don't want to eat healthy, and that's fine. I can tell you the Dr. Pepper Zero is good. It tastes like Dr. Pepper. I don't know if y'all looked at my short today, but I had a place, and that's one of the reasons I'm eating a smoothie or drinking a smoothie for dinner is because I had a very heavy lunch. I had a hamburger and fries from this place called Tommy's, world famous hamburgers here in Lubbock, Texas, and usually when I do that, it's like it's easier on my stomach to go to bed, with a smoothie in your stomach than to have something heavy, even if it's healthy. So, man, Family Guy just cracks me up. Yeah, that Tommy's Burger was good. It was really good. Do any of y'all like Family Guy? It was really good. They have a they have a freaking Krispy Kreme place here, and I drive by it every morning to get to the training. And the donuts are just being made, so you're smelling that sugary smell in the air. You know, and I saw this ad. They have like chocolate on the Krispy Kreme donuts. It was like a chocolate layer on top, and I was like, "What? What?" I don't know about you, but fighting bad food is hard as hell for me. But I've managed to lose like 10 to 12 pounds on this journey, and my blood work came back good the other day, so my doctor was pleased. Yeah, I like Shipley donuts also. I do. I'm not a fan of Dunkin' Donuts, so I went into the new Dunkin' Donuts place. I wasn't impressed. I wasn't impressed with the Dunkin' Donuts. Maybe I didn't order the right donut or whatever, but I wasn't impressed. Real talk. So really quickly, who's y'all's favorite character on Family Guy? Is it Brian? Is it Peter? Is it Stewie? Who is it? Stewie. Oh, I like apple fritters. I'm not a diabetic. I'm doing it for weight loss. Plus, my levels were really high for pre-diabetes. So, just trying to change some of the stuff because I just want to do stuff different. I would turn it up, but YouTube would frown on that. So maybe we can watch without the sound, just like the 50s. Yeah, my dad takes that stuff. I'm taking, I don't know which one it is. I think it's called a Zimby or something. I take a Zimby, one of them for cholesterol, a Torestatin, and a Pioglazine or something like that. I don't even know. All I know is this last time she was happy with my blood sugar and everything was going good. The only thing that she said was really problematic is my good cholesterol was low. You know what I mean? I'm like, what the fuck? My good cholesterol is low? How the hell is that possible? Man, this smoothie's really good. That mixture of fruit is the bomb. And I bought that nitro looking ninja looking blender thing for like 20 bucks in Walmart, I think it was. Yeah, a torstatin for cholesterol. Exercise more to get the healthy cholesterol. Okay. Yeah, 'cause that was low. That was low. But yeah, my A1C probably 2 years ago was through the roof. It was through the roof. It was like it was bad. But you know, some people live to eat, and some people eat to live. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta not eat when you're just because you're bored, just because you're lonely, just because you're depressed or whatever. You just can't go in the refrigerator and start chowing down because you're not trying to feel that emotion, you know? And it's always good to take, like tonight, I'm taking the night off from lifting, I'm taking the night off from walking because you don't have to do it every single day. I mean, when you're first starting, it's good to do it every day. But I mean, at this point in my life, it's maintaining it. You know what I mean? So I had to take a day off because I want my muscles to rest. I want to rest, and But like, I was talking to the instructor today, and we were talking about working out. Your cortisol levels build up, and that's why after you don't work out for a couple days, you start feeling really edgy and really ick. You know, seems like you're on the right track. Well, thank you for that. I'm trying, bro. I'm really trying. I mean, I eat a lot more vegetables now. For forever, I wasn't eating. I mean, for decades, I can tell you the only time I would eat vegetables would be when I'd have a steak. I would eat, or a chicken fried steak. I'd have, mashed potatoes and green beans or something like that. I'd never really eat vegetables. Now I eat vegetables. I'm eating fruit. I'm eating nuts. You know, cashews, all kinds of weird shit. I'm drinking a lot more smoothies. Doing all that stuff. Just trying to stay healthy. I think every other night is probably better. Yeah. I mean, I'm not 20 years old either. You know what I mean? It's like when you're 20, you can do it every night, and you're good. But I mean, I'm always leery that if I do it too hard, I'm gonna injure myself. I'm gonna pull a muscle, whatever. You know what I mean? That takes you out of the game even longer. So try to just chill every other day or every day. So y'all say a prayer for me on Thursday if you're a praying person. Did I pass that test so I can be a PO? One more, one more notch in the level of success for 12. Um, because you know you're never too old to do certain things. I'm older, and I never thought I'd be doing this at my age. But it seems to be a lot easier. My focus is a lot more than when I was younger. Lost 62 pounds. Yeah, I understand that. I understand that, Walt. I really do. Now I've talked about that as well. It's like the dysmorphia type. You lose the weight, but you still have that mentality. Yeah, I get it. I've been there before. I think for a long time, I was an emotional eater. Like, whatever circumstance was going on, ice cream would be my late night go to. Um, Fried food, I'm here in the South, so everything has to be fried. You know what I mean? It's like you can fry just about anything. Um, and my job is pretty stationary, so if you eat a big lunch, you're really not burning anything because you're going right back to the office. You're sitting around. Unless you're up moving around all day, the rest of the day, you're really not burning anything. And like this week, I'm stationary, but I'm up moving around. Like, we'll take a break. I'll move around. I'll go to lunch. I'll move around, walk around. I come back to the hotel. I'm walking around. I got to take some of the stuff that I put into my routine this week that I can take to the house. Because when you're at the house, it's easier to just get home and get lazy. You know what I mean? You get home, you're just like, man, I don't want to go work out. I don't want to eat right. I've done good all day. Let me reward myself. I don't know if any of y'all are ever like that or have ever been like that, but that's a bad habit to get into. It really is. And those are some things that some people struggle with. I have been one of those. So sometimes you just gotta suck it up and go to the gym or go for that 15-minute walk. Like I've always said, if you don't have to run, walking a lot of times is more beneficial than running. Or if you have the ability to have a pool, hell, swimming is way better than any of that. You can drop weight pretty quickly. Rondi agrees. I'm glad. This fruit mixture is really freaking good. It went perfect with the protein. Cause I did bananas and what are the little red ones? Those are raspberries, right? Yeah, raspberries. I did banana, raspberry, the protein, and the fruit punch. It didn't taste as good the other day, but this mixture was strawberries, blueberries, um, I don't know, whatever else was in there. Damn, I should have added the. I had some yogurt earlier. Yeah, you can never eat enough yogurt either. Yeah. Well, I'm just mumbling, rumbling right now. But thank you so much for being on here with me. Once again, my name is 12 Gauge, and if you watch this in the future on replay, leave a note, leave a kind like. I know it's not astronomical or it's not mind blowing, but sometimes I go live not really for any other reason than just to go live. Be kind and take care of yourselves and take care of the people you care about. Because there's a lot of people out there hurting right now. And the best thing you could do is just not be a dick. You know? Like I say, stay safe and always watch your six. I would say Maestro cue that music, but there's no music to be cued. I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Y'all take it easy. See you soon.